Dramione fam, and welcome to my Dramione Superlatives of 2024 Part 2 Spice Edition. I was going to group these with the others, but I feel like Spice deserves its own video. So I've divided Spice into multiple categories because there are just so many different kinds of spice, and just like actual spices, they're all good and serve a purpose, just depends on what you're looking for. So we're going to talk about what I'm calling 5-alarm smut, rom-com spice, realistic, angsty, honest spice, YA spice, and best first kisses. Let's get into it. And let's begin with what I'm calling 5-alarm smut. I was gonna call it smut with a side of plot, but I don't feel that's fair, because even in the heaviest smut Dramiones, there's often still a banger plot and some really good character work. So it's 5-alarm smut, but there's usually more to it. All right, so in the 5-alarm smut category, we'll start with the two fics that I've talked about recently. And the first is All You Want by Senlin Yu. It's an Omegaverse fic that is like 80% Sezi scenes, but with the character exploration and world building and strong viewpoints that you'd expect from Senlin Yu. I really enjoyed this one. It seems like a lot of you did too. It's a good one. Another one I recently talked about was Bloody, Slutty, and Pathetic by What Murda. From your comments on my video about this fic, it seems that you also agree with me that Draco's whole personality and emotional journey in this one is top-notch. His desire to both be dominated and comforted by Hermione was titillating and soul-filling and sweet. Additionally, Hermione being more experienced and like taking charge of her own fulfillment, if you know what I mean, was also really nice. Not like I don't like the ones where she isn't, but sometimes it's nice to have a little sexpot goddess on our hands. Another 5-alarm special is Bring Him to His Knees by Music. Draco and Harry are Aurors trying to solve a string of unalivings by a serial unaliver. And to do so, Draco has to infiltrate an adult club, but can only be admitted with a partner. Enter an already crushing and pining and a bit sub Hermione Granger. This one was very hot with a decent mystery thriller plot. If you enjoy that kind of thing, you would enjoy this. And finally, in the 5-alarm category is a short little banger called Blackmailed by Mistress Lynn. This one might be a little more obscure. I really liked this. So Hermione stays at Hogwarts instead of going on the Horcrux hunt with Ron and Harry, and she stays there in order to research, but she ends up as head girl with Draco as head boy, and they have to share a suite. She doesn't trust him, and things are tense between them until Draco actually steals her famous beaded bag that has all of her research notes in it, and she's terrified and horrified that he's been spying on her to inform Voldemort, so she agrees to one night with him together to get the bag back. So this fic is only about 160 pages, if I remember correctly, and 125 of those pages are like their steamy night together. But as usual, there is just a ton of angst and emotion packed into this little piece. It actually made me cry in the end. I very highly recommend it. So now let's talk rom-com spice. These are ones where they both clearly want and enjoy their encounters, and those encounters serve as hot and appropriate side dishes to the rest of what is usually a fluffy but inevitably angsty rom-com. So Meet Your Match by Morgan Mercy, I've talked about that one a lot. It has what I thought was really good spice all throughout. The pining, the almosts, and the final plunge into a physical relationship was all just like perfection. Very satisfying all the way around. Also in that one, I liked that they had their first kiss like really early on, which kind of just like was nice to have it so soon. Another one I talked about before, Universal Truths by Scully Murphy. It's the Pride and Prejudice retelling. What I liked about this one is that you don't have to wait very long for the spice. It happens early and it's pretty hot. And it paves the way for the rest of the very emotional journey and of course all like the plot points of Pride and Prejudice. So it was really well done. And finally, Teach Me How to Forget by Scully Murphy. Again, if you watched my other genre video, these are ones I've already talked about. But I said in the last video that this one does that name trope well, and it is in fact the name trope that kind of provokes their first encounter. There are a lot of fun, spicy shenanigans in this one, as well as the catharsis of emotional healing. Just tops. The next category is what I'm calling realistic, honest, angsty spice. The first three in this category involve Hermione being very inexperienced, which makes the encounters kind of sweet and honest interpretations of what like an awakening is like. So first is Clean by Olivia Blake, and I think it does this really well. So Draco is not her first. I thought it was a clever choice on Olivia Blake's part that she describes her first experience with Ron, which is predictably clunky and not super satisfying, only to draw a stark contrast when she first hooks up with Draco. By the time we get to Marked, they have a more regular and fulfilling physical relationship, which is very hot, but I did love the sweet innocence of Clean. Next would be the Rights and Wrongs series by Loves Bitka 8, aka Julie Soto. I think this series also does this trope really well, both in The Right Thing to Do and in The Auction, especially in The Auction, which has like the threat of non-con like hanging over everyone's heads. So it's kind of like a really beautiful thing that their first encounters are so very, very sweet and earnest. The Fallout by Every Thursday is also definitely a contender here. Even though it is pretty heavy on the spice throughout, at the beginning she is very inexperienced, and I thought the author did a great job portraying Hermione's emotions and her awakening and how that all kind of went. And finally, one of the most realistic and honest spice scenes I've ever read, not just in Dramione, but in anything, was Divination for Skeptics by Olivia Blake. Their first encounter scene is funny, it's charming, it's hot, it's very honest. They're not inexperienced, but they're learning each other, they're inexperienced with each other, and it's just honestly perfection. Finally, I have to talk about YA spice. If you don't like long, drawn-out spice scenes, but you do enjoy the emotion and catharsis of like knowing that it's happening, I have two suggestions for you. First, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, don't get me wrong, there is plenty of spice in this one, involving many different character pairings, Percy and Pansy, Theo and Harry, Blaise and Parvati, and many others. I just kind of like that the spice was kind of contained. It wasn't like drawn out. It was more about like the emotions of being together, and they functioned much more as like within the plot. So I kind of appreciated that change of pace. And then the other one is Disappearances of Draco Malfoy by Speechwriter, aka Riley Redgate. As I've said, this one is actually YA, so while they do get together physically in this, again, it's more about the emotional coupling than graphic depictions. And because this plot is so well constructed and unique and exciting, I didn't mind. And finally, I wanted to do my favorite first kisses. There are so many good ones, they're always good. However, the ones that jumped to my mind immediately were, again, Clean by Olivia Blake. It's such a good first kiss moment, just well-timed, well-written, packed with emotion. Also, I thought The Right Thing to Do had a really good first kiss. And I do love that you get to relive that first kiss through his eyes in All the Wrong Things. What are your favorite first kisses? Because I kind of want to go back and just read all the first kiss scenes because they're so good. All right, well, that's all for now. I'm currently reading Damaged Goods, and ooh, it's pretty spicy. So yeah, I'll probably have more to add to this as I move along. Let me know your favorite spicy fix, and I'll see you next time. Bye.